So today I'm going to be doing my own version of the UFC 2024 awards. Starting off, we have got Fighter of the Year. So for most of these categories, I'm going to have my actual pick and then a runner-up. Starting off with Fighter of the Year, I'm pretty sure Alex Pereira did win this. I think Ilia Topuria has been robbed here, to be honest. Maybe robbed's a bit of a strong word, but Ilia Topuria in a singular year has knocked out Volkanovski, the greatest featherweight of all time, and Max Holloway, arguably the second or third greatest UFC featherweight of all time. Ilia Topuria knocked them out in back-to-back fights. In my opinion, this might be the best back-to-back wins in UFC history. I can't think of someone off the top of my head that has done more. Obviously, Ilia Topuria is my number one. My runner-up is Alex Pereira. I think Ilia Topuria, in terms of quality, has done more. His opponents have been at a higher level, but quantity obviously is Alex Pereira defending his belt at UFC 300 against Jamal Hill, who he knocked out. Yuri Prohaska in the rematch at 303, where he stepped in on short notice again. And then obviously finishing Khalil Roundtree at UFC 307. A really, really impressive year from Alex Pereira, who is the current UFC light heavyweight champion. Saved a lot of events this year, especially 307, because if we had Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington as the main event, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now today. So I think I have to thank this man, but the quality of wins, Ilia Topuria knocking out Volkanovski and Max Holloway back-to-back in the space of a year, hard to compete with in my opinion. I think Ilia Topuria is Fighter of the Year in my opinion. Next up, we've got Breakout Star of the Year. For this one, I've went for Diego Lopez. I feel like a lot of people would go for Diego Lopez. Essentially, the guy went from unranked to number one contender, or one fight off being number one contender. I would love to see him versus Ilia Topuria over the Volkanovski matchup. I know I have been an advocate of Volkanovski getting his rematch because I do believe the guy is the greatest featherweight of all time, and that was his first ever loss in the featherweight division. But I don't know. I would like to see something new. I think the same outcome unfortunately will happen in the Topuria matchup, and I don't think we're going to have Topuria for much longer in the featherweight division, and this is a matchup that I would like to see. Like I said, Diego Lopez picked up some big wins, knocking out Sadiq Youssef at UFC 300 and then beating up Brian Ortega at UFC 306. Was very unlucky not to get the stoppage over Brian Ortega, but that right there skyrocketed Diego Lopez up into the rankings, giving him that number 3 spot in the featherweight division. Like I said, started the year off unranked, finished the year number 1 contender, ranked number 3. Finally, the follow-up, my second option was Joaquin Buckley. 3 big wins this year for him as well. Has it been more? I think it's just been 3. I'm saying just as if it's not an incredible achievement. It might actually be more, because he beat Vicente Luque this year, I'm pretty sure. He beat Ruzaboev, which is an underrated win in my opinion. Knocked out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and then just got the TKO stoppage over Colby Covington. Even though the doctor did step in, Joaquin Buckley was clearly 3-0 up in that matchup. He is on a 6-fight win streak. The guy is currently number 6 in the UFC's welterweight division. I think he might also, similar to Diego Lopez, might be 1 win off, depending on who it is that he fights next. Joaquin Buckley definitely deserves a shout to be a breakout star here this year. But for me, it is Diego Lopez in at number 1, and then I've got Joaquin Buckley coming in the number 2 spot. Female Fighter of the Year, I've just got one option here. It's Kayla Harrison. Obviously made her debut at UFC 300, beating Holly Holm, a legend of women's MMA. MMA in general, give us that big moment against Ronda Rousey. Then beat Caitlin Vieira at UFC 307. Is the number 1 contender in the bantamweight division. Will be women's bantamweight champion. I'm almost certain of it. I think she will get the Amanda Nunes matchup. I do believe Amanda Nunes will come out of retirement. That's just a wee sneaky preview of my 2025 predictions video that will be dropping soon. But yeah, that is it. I don't have another option. Kayla Harrison is my option for Female Fighter of the Year. Let's move on. We've got Knockout of the Year. I've got Oliveira. Now, I would show this clip, but I think the UFC will copyright me, so I don't want to run the risk of it. But that flying knee, this has to be KO of the Year. Maybe not against the highest of level of opponent, but still, KO of the Year. 100% has to be. Next up, another option. I think this is a fairly obvious one. It's Max Holloway. Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. Big moment. A lot of people had this as fight of the year. Personally, this is not my fight of the year. We will get into that later on in the video. But yeah, what a KO. Knocking out Justin Gaethje on the biggest stage of them all. UFC 300, the biggest event in UFC history in terms of card value. Max Holloway knocked out Justin Gaethje with 1 second left. That's runner-up. But the flying knee, go back and watch it. It is something spectacular. That is KO of the year for me. And finally, submission of the year. I don't know why I said finally, because we've got more. Submission of the year. This was a difficult one, but Khamzat choking out, not even choking out, just breaking Whittaker's face at UFC 308 in the first round. I thought Whittaker was going to beat Khamzat, and Khamzat ragdolled him. Broke his face. Robert Whittaker, a top 3 middleweight of all time. Khamzat literally broke the guy's face. Khamzat Chimaev is winning submission of the year, but it was close between him and this one right here. This image is just brutal. Islam Makhachev with staph infection going in there and beating up Dustin Poirier at UFC 302, I believe this event was. What a matchup this was. This was in contention for fight of the year, definitely. But Islam Makhachev just showed how great he was with that, catching Poirier's leg, snatching, pulling him back, getting him in a Darce choke. I believe in the build-up to this, Poirier said he can't be choked out by being in the Darce. And Islam Makhachev literally choked the guy out unconscious. That there is winning, or that there is runner-up. Could have won, but Khamzat breaking the guy's literal face. I feel like that has to take submission of the year. Next up, we've got event of the year. Obvious. A real obvious one, if we're being honest. UFC 300. Look at this card. We've got Cody Garbrandt, Deiveson Figueiredo opening the card up. Why this fucker is on the main card, I'm still yet to understand why. But anyway, we'll move on from that. UFC 300, obvious, was always going to be card of the year. It's stacked. Nothing comes close to it, to be honest. Runner-up for this is going to be UFC 308, Topuria versus Holloway. What a moment the main event gave us. I mean, like I've said time and time again, love-hate relationship with Ilia Topuria. Feel like we need him, but then he says stuff like he's moving to lightweight, and he knocked out Max Holloway and Volkanovski. Then we had the matchup where Whittaker got his face broke. I will continue to say that. Ankalaev Rakic wasn't the most entertaining fight. Lerone Murphy Dan Ige was an interesting one. You got the double spinning back fist knockout from Magomedov. Why am I saying his name wrong? The Parrot, Shara Magomedov. Then we had Jeff Neal, RDA. Not that great of a fight, let's be honest. Rebecca versus Orolbai, one of the best fights of the year. Abbas Magomedov versus Vieira. That was another fun matchup. Chris Barnett, a lot of people like this guy. He was on the card. One of the biggest robberies of the year as well, right here. Overall, there was a lot that was going on with UFC 308. The main event, co-main event, really are saving this card. UFC 299 could have been here, but I don't know. Even though I wanted Max Holloway to win, plus I'm from the UK, so I didn't have to stay up long for this event, so maybe that's why it holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, 300 is definitely event of the year in my opinion. And finally, fight of the year, Rebecca versus Orolbai, UFC 308. What a war that was. That is definitely fight of the year. I do have an issue with people having Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje in the conversation for fight of the year. I know it is opinion based, but there's no way you can watch this fight and my runner-up fight and tell me that Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway is more entertaining. It wasn't. It was one-sided from Max Holloway from start to finish, and then he finished Justin Gaethje. I feel like a lot of people are caught up on the two big names, Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, and then the knockout when they don't remember the fight. It was one-sided and Max Holloway was clearly winning. But Orolbai versus Rebecca is my fight of the year. And runner-up, another obvious one, Daniel Selhuber versus Ribovic at UFC 306. What an absolute war that was. Great fight. Again, better than Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people would agree with this as well. But yeah, those are my UFC 2024 awards. Let me know your awards in the comments below. Who have you got winning Fighter of the Year? What is Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Sub of the Year, Female Fight of the Year, Breakout Star, whatever other kind of thing you have, I can't speak. Whatever other categories, that's the word I'm looking for. You let me know them in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.